Hello everybody and welcome into my latest live video. Today it's Wednesday. It's November the 9th, 2022. My name is Kerry Holzman and I am a working computer technician. If you're new here, welcome in and please experience our very kind and friendly chat room and our community. We hope you'll stick around and be a part of it. We don't tolerate the nonsense that is in and what ruins a lot of live content on YouTube. So here we have a lot of folks in blue that are friends of the channel that help keep things under control. Sometimes we restrict who's allowed to chat when it gets really bad with trolling and bots and spammers and whatnot. But lately things have calmed down since we've been locking things down. So we opened everything back up again in the hopes that we can attract more like-minded individuals. So welcome into this midweek review video. The company Beelink, company I've never heard of before, they reached out to me and they said, would you be interested in reviewing our latest 12th gen mini PC? I love mini PCs. The little Intel Nooks, the small PCs on a stick, they are wonderful solutions that are not necessarily replacements for desktop computers universally, but in many cases are wonderful for resolving a particular space savings or cost savings for a function you need a PC to do, whether that's like a home theater PC, for example, or a small office where you need to do a lot of Microsoft Office style of work, email, browsing, Adobe PDF, that kind of work. You don't need a super big computer that's filled with massive amounts of RAM and takes up a lot of real estate either on your desk or on the floor that you keep running into with your chair. So these little mini PCs are so wonderful in so many different applications that I just can't get enough of them. And so these are not to be confused with or even fairly compared with very expensive desktop computers designed for gaming or designed for extraordinarily heavy workloads or resource intensive workloads. These machines are designed to a purpose. And with that in mind, I thought we'd unbox it and experience the first power on and see what it's all about. I really don't know much about it. The specifications are in the video notes below the video, and thank you to all my friends who are already there in the chat room as we get a little bit of an early start to today's video. Want to make sure everybody can see and hear me okay before I move forward, so just a little feedback on that before we start is appreciated. Hello to all my friends in blue and friends in white, perhaps are new here. Thank you for joining us. We hope you stick around. We hope you'll enjoy this content. My videos are long. I do things old school. I want to show you every step. I want to show you every mistake. Whether it's a mistake I make or it's usually a mistake I make, I want you to see the reality of what time investment there typically is in reviewing products or repairing PCs or building PCs. None of this highly polished edited stuff where you put 70, 80 hours into a 45-minute video and everything's always perfect all the time. It's a false expectation to think you can replicate that. So when you watch my videos, they are unscripted, they are unrehearsed, and there's literally no prep, because in my line of work as an actual field service technician and desktop support technician, I encounter whatever needs to be repaired, and I have to get to it as quickly as possible so I can get to the next one as quickly as possible. There's not a whole lot of time to study and memorize and prepare for what we don't even know we're encountering yet. But what we have to do is act on our feet, quick with results, and to get it right the first time as often as possible so that we have happy customers. It saves them money, and our customers hopefully don't have to wait too long. I like how I say our customers. It's just me, my customers, because there's only one of me with no employees. People have to get queued up in a line quite often. I can't help two people at the same time. If one person monopolizes my time, I could lose those other customers who get tired of waiting and they take their business somewhere else, and it can cost me a lot of not only current revenue, but future revenue that client might have brought to me. So it's in my best interest to help my customers as quickly, as accurately, and as inexpensively as I can, and to help as many of them as I can. I'm sort of like a fast food computer tech in the sense that sometimes customers, They want to talk with me and have me tutor them for hours on end, and I don't have time for it. And they don't seem to understand that I have a bunch of other customers waiting, and it's just me. So sometimes I'm not the right fit for certain clients that need their hand held for an extended period of time. However, for people that want to get things done quickly, get it done right the first time, have somebody that is the only person doing the work, the only person taking the support calls, you're only talking to one person. A lot of people truly see the benefit in that you're not just having to explain the same problem over and over to a different person who answers the phone. And so everything gets done with a certain consistency with regards to how it's done, when it's done. And of course, if there's any questions or problems, you talk to the person who did the work. And so for people who see the benefit in that, well, they keep me busy. Now, I often, I sort of have a rule that I don't sell something to a client unless I've had hands-on experience with it, because it could cost me a lot of money in support and in it could be damaging to my reputation. So when a company will reach out to me with a product that I genuinely would consider as a potential solution for any of my clients, first and foremost, I have to evaluate that product. And I don't want to be closed-minded to new manufacturers or smaller manufacturers, because when there is a real value to be found in this industry, it's often from smaller manufacturers you might never have heard of, but that doesn't automatically make them less desirable or less capable with support or quality. So sometimes they are, but it's not always. Now, this company, Beelink, I don't think I've worked with them before. However, I have worked with similar form factor PCs, and they're all pretty much the same when it comes to what you can expect from them. And this is the latest 12th gen. So I'm expecting a little bit more, given that it's a 12th gen processor. I'm not quite sure. Well, I guess I can read the box with regards to what the specifications are. It appears to have 16 gigabytes of RAM, 500 gigs of storage, Wi-Fi 6, which is 802.11.8x, and an AC adapter that works from 100 volts to 240 volts, auto switching 50 to 60 hertz. It's a 19 volt output of the adapter at 6.32 amps. Ooh, that's kind of high. It's an Intel Core i5-1235U processor, which I know nothing about. The manufacturer is Shenzhen AZW Technology Corp, which is located in Shenzhen, China. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing these names correctly. However, everything's made in China these days, right? Apple's putting a lot of stuff together there in China, and people genuinely regard them as very well made, as a number of more companies than I can name, right? So we never quite know with a company we've never heard of if we're dealing with something that is very well made or something cheaply made. And that's what these reviews help to evaluate to the best of my ability. And we're going to just experience this unboxing together. Never turned this computer on before. I have no idea. Is it noisy? Is it fast? Is it slow? Let's find out. Let's find out together. I like to do the unboxings only because I want you to see how things compact. If you were to receive an item that you thought maybe was used or returned, one of the ways you'll be able to tell is when people repack things, they never repack them the same way. And you can often tell when instruction manual's been dog-eared or included cables are folded wrong. When something is brand new, one of the ways you can tell is by watching somebody else unbox something that's brand new and then see if yours was boxed the same way and how it's packaged. So here we start off with a very small user manual here. Now, once again, as a field service tech, I don't have time for that. We'll set it aside just in case we need it. We have a small piece of foam there. And then somehow we're supposed to get this out. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. This is the entire computer. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Intel NUC or next unit of computing, this appears to be a very similar size, both in width and height, And it has a weird fabric on top. I've not seen that before. It's not quite sure how that's going to be for dusting. Sometimes fabric like this, I live in Phoenix and it's very, very dusty. And if the dust gets in the fabric, it can be very difficult to get out. So I'll be curious how that ages. The good thing about fabric is, of course, it's not going to leave any fingerprint smudges or things like that. But as you can see, if we focus, we've got this weird fabric. It's like a speaker cover, speaker grill. And looking at it from the front, we have two USB 3 Type A's. We have a USB Type C. We have a power button that's red. I like that they made it red. A big complaint from my customers, especially my customers who have impaired vision, older folks as well, that they cannot see the black button on a black surface. Something's sticking out right here. Something's catching my attention. I don't know what that is. Well, I'll put my glasses on and take a better look at what that is. Okay, so there's the front. Turn it to the side. We just have a grill here for something. I guess that's for the air to blow through. And it's the same on the other side. On the back, we'll take a look at what connectivity, more air venting up here. We've got our Ethernet jack, two more USB ports, two HDMI outs, and power plug goes in there, barrel connector. And what is this little thing here? We have some instructions on the bottom. So that's really bugging my OCD. I don't know what that's for. Do I pull it out? I don't know. It's really weird. I never, I didn't notice that till I brought it up to the camera. What does this say? It's got something written on it. You know what? I think all this is like a tag on the back of a shirt. I think they just it's just like a label. So I guess that's supposed to be there, but I don't know who's supposed to see that. That little pinhole there, that's a reset, and they've done that in a way that would require the tip of a pen or a pencil so you don't accidentally press it. And ideally, you would very rarely ever need to hit the reset button. That would assume the system has stopped being it's not responsive. And rather than pull the power cord, I would suggest you hold the power button in for 10 seconds on any laptop or desktop that's not responding, and it should override after 10 seconds and power off. However, a reset can often be much faster, and in this case, it's recessed. Nothing worse than accidentally hitting a reset button and losing all your unsaved work. In the box remaining, well, there's still some weight in here. Another piece of foam. We have a power adapter right here. We have a power cord. We have what is this? We have a very, very short HDMI cable. I don't know why. And then we have a longer HDMI cable. Now that's unusual because usually HDMI cables come with the monitor. And since this does not come with a monitor, I suppose the reason they're including these is there is what appears to be a VESA mount back here, with the idea being that you can secure this to the back of your monitor. Now this is assuming your monitor has its own stand and that the holes in the back of the monitor are spaced appropriately for this to screw on, and then this would attach right down here at the bottom, and then you wouldn't want a 6-foot HDMI cable or a 5-foot HDMI cable when you only needed a few inches to go from the PC to the monitor. And if you were running two monitors, you'd obviously need a slightly longer cable to reach to your second monitor. So I'm imagining, as a technician, why that's in there. I'm sure the instructions explain it, but that's my best guess, just using logic and experience. And so we don't need any of that other stuff right now. We'll put the rest of this back in here, and we'll leave the instructions out in case we want to refer back to them. Now this does advertise it's 10 cores, which sounds good to me. Cover this back up. this out of our way. And we'll get this bad boy fired up. So, hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. We're midway through the week. Before you know it, Friday's going to be here. And then Thanksgiving's going to be here. And then it's going to be the holidays. And then New Year's, of course, wrap up our holidays. And then we're into 2023 and we start the year over. Man, time's moving quick. Welcome in once again, people just joining. I see some familiar names in the chat room. There's Stealth Mode and Blackwatch and Sarge Tech, and there's our good friend Rick Lakes and Sergio Kochet, and more than I can name. Let me make sure I select my viewer activity tab now on YouTube so I won't miss any contributions. Now, with regards to this product on Amazon, I do have the Amazon page up here, and we will take a quick look at this. I just need to be able to share it with you here. Here it is. So before we fire it up, let's just take a look at how this is being advertised on Amazon. And how do I do that? I've got to go to my window capture. Window capture. There it is. Back over to properties, and that should, let's see. Let me just put myself, oops, that's not me. Where am I? I'm going to put myself right up in a corner. That's what I'll do. Maybe this corner will be best. And let's take a look at the page. The Beelink SEi12 mini PC, 10 cores, 12th gen Intel i5-1235U, up to 4.4 gigahertz, 16 gigs of RAM with a 500 gig NVMe M.2 SSD, gigabit Ethernet, and it supports HDMI output at 4K at 60 hertz, Ultra HD, with dual HDMI, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.0. I think the Bluetooth standard is 5.3 now. But that's okay, that just mostly involves latency. It supposedly comes with Windows 11, and it says it supports auto power on. It does appear to be a coupon here, and I guess I have to sign in to take advantage of that. So scrolling down, we can read all about the marketing information. And I do have a link to this Amazon page in the video notes below the video, so if you want to go back, click on that and go through that. But we're going to just keep the video moving forward. We'll scroll down, and let's see what other people are saying when I can get to the reviews. There's some interesting breakaways of what's inside, and a little more information. Finally, we're getting to some reviews here. So overwhelmingly, it's positive, 62%, and a bunch in the middle here, and maybe one or two reviews maybe that are 1 star. We'll just kind of skim through. 5 stars, 5 stars, 3 stars, 3 stars. System freezes randomly. I would think there's something wrong with that. That would not be considered normal. Let's see. This person's very excited about it. Yeah, I think I just see this though. Oh wait, here's one. Sound jack problem. Okay, so it looks like 2 1-star reviews here, and it seems like some people might have gotten some defective units. That's not, I don't know that it's fair to give a review based on a defective unit. For all we know, it was shipped fine, but was built fine, but for all we know, the delivery driver at the last mile of delivery drop-kicked it to their front door, for all we know. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here, because clearly the reviews are overwhelmingly positive, and the product is still a brand new product. We only have 58 ratings on this. So I imagine in the coming months ahead, that's going to be many more reviews that'll give us a better average score, a better idea of what to expect. But let's see how our experience is. We can read about other people's experiences, but really it's our experience that should carry the most weight, right? So let me go back to full screen on camera 1 here. There I am. We'll turn off that Windows capture. And do any of you in the chat room have a mini PC? Have any of you ever had one? Be kind of curious what you thought of it. Did you like it? And what did you use it for? Mark Gaines with an 11-pound contribution, joining us from the UK. He says, excellent timing, Kerry. I was thinking about getting one of those. Yeah, like I said, I've reviewed 4 or 5 of these so far on my channel of different manufacturers with AMD and some with Intel chips. And they absolutely it can be a wonderful solution where space is at a premium and your needs are not so demanding that you want to play, Crisis or something. Be realistic with this, what machine can do. And most people, this will meet the needs of your average user and for less than the price of a graphics card. You know what I'm saying? So it's very reasonable. But let's see how well it works or how loud it is, and we'll decide for ourselves. Everybody, I'll have my opinion, and of course, with the information I provide in the video, my goal is for you to have the information enough so that you can develop your own opinion as to what you believe it to be with regards to value for your expectations. Terrell Cockram says he has 2 Intel NUCs and says, I have a friend using one and he loves it. Sarge Tech says, I wonder what the cooling technology is for that tiny thing. The power brick is almost the size of the unit. Well, that holds true for the original Intel NUC. Back in 2013, April of 2013, I reviewed the very first Intel NUC. That Intel NUC was an i3. It has a very similar cooling solution to a laptop, nothing really unique there. And it's still in use. The person that owns that still uses it for remote. They log into their work remotely. They've been using it since April of 2013, but they were using it, and since the pandemic started, they're using it more than they've ever used it before. Still holding up just fine. Now, honestly, to get them something newer, more modern, and not an i3, I'm sure they would notice a speed difference. However, apart from what it takes to get signed in, logged in to their remote work, there might be a slight little delay when they click on something to bring it up. But overall, most of the delays happening in the remote connection anyway. But I still think they would appreciate something that was many generations newer and would notice it being more responsive. But they'd still be doing the same work. It wouldn't make them any more productive. Now, the good thing is we know that machine is very good. We know it's reliable. It's all the original parts. It's still running the original SSD. It's still running the original RAM. And I think we upgraded it. Initially, it had Windows 7, and now it has Windows 10. Many new machines now are coming with Windows 11. So I believe they said Windows 11 is on this, and that's fine. I wouldn't upgrade Windows 10 to Windows 11 because I don't see any point in it. But at the same time, I wouldn't downgrade Windows 11 to Windows 10 because I don't see any point in it. They're identical in many, many ways. So if you got it, it's fine, but I wouldn't go out of my way to upgrade, nor would I go out of my way to downgrade. Whatever the machine comes with is how I would leave it be. Of course, 12th and 13th gen Intel chips specifically are better optimized on Windows 11, but on a machine this small anyway, you're not likely going to notice any difference. Let me find a plug here. Let's see. Here we go. Plug this in right here. We get a little blue indicator on the power adapter. I wish the cable was longer. It's only about a 4-foot cable. So we're going to bring that right to the edge of the table. I do not want to plug it into the network because we're going to have to go through the initial setup for Windows. I need to plug in the capture card so you guys can see what I see. Assuming I can untangle my cables here. Doesn't matter which HDMI plug, either one. We need a keyboard and a mouse, don't we? So I will use my standard wireless keyboard mouse combo. We'll bring that out here, set these up and turn them on. Take the dongle out of there. Let's power up the keyboard. And let's just plug the dongle in back here. Hey, look at it, first try. But I couldn't do that again. Okay, so that's the whole thing. There's nothing to assemble. They do sell bare bones versions of Nook, not this company, I don't think, but like the original Intel Nook, you had to put in your own RAM and put in your own storage and provide your own operating system. There is a company that does that on behalf of Intel, and of course, they charge more for it, and they put the RAM and the storage in and load the OS for you, and all of that's sold on Amazon. Obviously, you'll save money going with a lesser-known brand, like in this case, Beelink versus Intel. Intel, you're paying a bit for the name, and of course, you have more freedom with regards to first of all, you don't have to do anything to it other than take it out of the box and use it. But if you wanted to upgrade the storage or the memory, I'm sure it's easily done. I don't know how this lid comes off, but I imagine we're going to take those 4 screws out, and we have access then to upgrading storage or RAM. But out of the box, you shouldn't need to upgrade it. It should be pretty much ready to rock and roll. What do we have? 3 plugs, and hit the power button. So let me switch over to the HDMI port. And again, I thank you over to Mark Gaines for his contribution in Super Chat. Appreciate you. All right, let's take a look. HDMI input, we'll turn that on. And then let's get my video right here. Let's put me on a corner somewhere. That'll be good. All right, so that gives us plenty of room left over on the screen to see what this thing's gonna do. Once again, you're seeing me unbox this for the very first time. I very rarely ever receive DOA or dead on arrival components, whether I'm ordering online from any of the big retailers, B&H Photo, Newegg, Amazon, or I'm being sent product for review. It's very, very rare. However, it's possible because I have no rehearsals and there's no edits. Anything can happen. This is live. I anticipate nothing exciting, nothing unexpected is likely going to happen. Let's hit the power button. We have a small power LED that lights up on the front. I can very quietly hear the fan whir up and then settle back down. And hopefully in just a minute, we're gonna get a power on self-test. There it is. We just leave it hands off while it initializes. That is the little spinning logo for Windows 11. The Windows 10 one I thought has little dots. But again, very minor differences so far in Windows 11 and Windows 10. They're virtually the same thing. All right, I'm gonna have to go full screen on my side so I can see what's happening over here. So you guys get to watch it full screen. I, on the other hand, have to watch it in a windowed application. So it's like a window in a window in a window. So it gets really small for me. And when I go full screen, my whole monitor is then pretty much what you're seeing, except I can no longer see the chat room and I can no longer see my own video. So it is just as though all I'm seeing is this computer plugged in as you would, or any end user would when they plug it in. Now, traditionally, when these ship with the operating system installed, they don't complete the install like I do for my customers. Microsoft actually doesn't want people to do that. So, but we don't need Microsoft's permission, do we? Anyway, yeah, English United States, we want that. And what else do we have here? The country United States. And what's next? Keyboard United States. Do I want a second keyboard? No. You might have a second language. You want to switch back and forth. We have a bunch of Wi-Fi networks. I don't want to connect to any of these. So there was a process. I cannot remember to bypass this. The problem when we select a network at this point is that it requires us to log in with a Microsoft account. Now, there's a few ways around this. I know we opened a command prompt last time we did this. Sometimes there's a little button here that says I don't have networking. I don't see that anywhere in here. So let me just take a look over at the chat room and see if anybody has shared what those steps were to get us through that command prompt. I would either have to do a quick Google search or go back and look at the video. Or I'm hoping somebody in the chat room there can provide the information for me. Darnell wants to know, why not add a second monitor? Well, I don't have a way to add a second monitor that I can share with you, not easily, but you absolutely can if you want to, but there's no benefit to me doing that in a live video. Let's see. Whether the box to connect automatically is selected or not, that's only takes effect when you hit the connect button. At this point, leaving that checked or unchecked, it's ignoring it right now. So it's not taking effect. Sergio says I should just click that phrase that says if you're having trouble. I thought I just did that and it didn't help for me, but let me try it one more time. Yeah, you'll see the indicator, the arrow. Nothing happens. It doesn't become, the shape doesn't become showing that that's a hyperlink or that it will function there. There's some items down here, but those don't seem to be working. And none of these settings matter until I hit connect. So this doesn't connect automatically or not. You know, we can check it or uncheck it. It doesn't make any difference until we hit connect, but I don't want to connect. But there's a command line we can type here. It's pretty easy. I just can't remember what it is. And since I don't see, I just look, make sure anybody's, can I click just the next button now? No, I don't believe, I think that box is grayed out, folks. Usually when the buttons are grayed out, you'll see that button is blue right up here. The connect button is blue. And this button down here is gray. And once again, it won't let me click a grayed out button. And the button will become blue, meaning it'll be clickable when we have completed the prerequisite. But we can bypass that prerequisite. And this is a great excuse to show you how that's done. Hal says, enter the wrong password for the Wi-Fi. You know, that's worth trying. I don't think it's going to, it's going to take a while to time out. We are on a live video. So what I'm going to do, Control-Alt-Delete isn't going to help us. Turning it off and turning it on again is just going to return us back to where we are. So we can bypass it, though, by going to the command prompt. And so since I'm not seeing that in the chat room where it was provided before by someone who generously offered it, I'm just going to do a quick Google search here, and we'll find the answer real quick. Let's see, we're going to go to Google, and I'm simply going to type how to bypass Windows 11 password network setup. I'm trying to think how that is. How to bypass an internet connection on Windows 11. There, they're telling us to hit the skip button, but we no longer have a skip button. Let's see. Shift F10 keyboard shortcut. Let's give that a shot here. Shift F10. Ah, that's what I wanted. Okay, so that opens up a command prompt, and then it tells us to type in the command line OOBE/bypass. Oh, I can't read it from this far away. Out-of-box experience is OOBE, bypass NRO, and we just need to type that in at the command prompt. So I'm going to go back to full screen so I can. This text is super tiny. We're going to go back over here, and we're going to type in bypass. Why is it not typing? Hello. Did I push the wrong keyboard? Am I on the right one? There it is. bypass. I cannot see that. Backslash, wait, OOBE backslash bypass NRO, enter. I cannot read it from this far away, so I'm going to move up a little bit here. OOBE is not recognized. Okay, hold on. I might have missed a step here. Let me just double check. I'm going to double check. Well, it's telling me that's what I'm supposed to type, but I seem to be maybe in the wrong subdirectory. I think I have to go into, well, it's showing Windows System 32, which is where I thought I was. Let me just double check one more time. Right click, full screen for carry. Where am I at on the screen? System 32, OOBE backslash bypass NRO. Interesting. For some reason, it's not recognizing that as a command when it should be OOBE. OOBE. Well, that's a puzzle. That's a new one. I'm sure I am missing something simple here. One of my reluctances of going to Windows 11 or moving my customers to Windows 11 is little stuff like this that just eats up my time. And like I said, I'm trying to get through customers quickly, not to mention the follow-up of where did this go and where did this get moved to. I don't have the answers to much of that until I start using it daily. And because there's no benefit for me to do so, I just recommend people stay with Windows 10 for now. However, let me just take another quick look over at the chat room and see if there's some suggestions I've missed. I'm just looking through your suggestions, which of course I appreciate. I don't know why we're not finding OOBE as a command. It's not showing a valid command. Do the ipconfig release? Well, it never was, ipconfig never was assigned, so releasing it doesn't release anything. There's nothing to release. OOBE is a folder. It should be a command. OOBE, the out-of-box experience, I thought that was a command. Let's take a look at it one more time. Everybody is typing into the chat what I just literally typed, so I don't know why you're typing the same thing. I seem to be missing something here. And I see a link to Tom's Hardware posted by Hall. Let's see if there's, well, that's a page not found on that link for Tom's Hardware. For some reason, it's incomplete. Commands are not case sensitive, only passwords. Email addresses are not case sensitive and commands are not case sensitive. Sergio recommends typing it all is one line, OOBE backslash bypass NRO. We can give that a shot. That's possible. Backslashes or forward slashes are what we call switches in command line structure, and it's talking to the computer. If you remember, if you were around in DOS days, it doesn't affect the command, it affects the switches or the options within that command. So if it's telling us it cannot find OOBE, then any switch we put after it likely won't work. However, let's just give it a shot because, you know, I've been wrong before. That would definitely be a difference in an operating system's translation of commands, which I would find stunning. But let's just type OOBE backslash bypass NRO. And of course, if it can't find the OOBE command, then any switch that we put to activate the options within that command in a DOS structure, a command line structure, you have to make sure you have the command before you can set any options to the command. And whether we type that in uppercase or lowercase should make absolutely no difference because it's not a password. Only passwords are case sensitive. Nothing else is case sensitive. Let's see, OOBE bypass NRO. Now the only difference is I've typed it in caps. And we're going to get the same exact, we're just going around in circles. But that's just to demonstrate how that works. And again, only passwords are case sensitive. And as you can see, whether I put a space or I don't put a space before the switch or what you guys recognize as a slash or a backslash, in command line we call that switches. Switches are how we control options within a command at a command line versus, you know, clicking on checkboxes or bullets. You know, you have the little dots you fill in on the graphical user interface. Before there was a graphical user interface, we did everything via text. And so commands such as copy or xcopy, they had optional switches to enable options within those commands. So that was a bit more complex than just looking at the picture and clicking the pretty little button. As a result, people unfamiliar with that process may not be able to understand the logic of how commands work at a DOS level. So it's a great experience for us to demonstrate and experience together for those people who just weren't around back in the DOS days. And so this is something that's very easily bypassed. I can't remember how it's done. Looking in the chat, that says, somebody said something about you can skip connect to a network with Alt F4. So Alt F4 is used to close any open window, but let's see if that works here. That makes sense to me. I don't know if they'll honor it. So for example, in this command window, if I hit Alt F4, it's going to close the command window. Now the window that's active, this let's connect you to a network, if we hit Alt F4 here, nothing happens. There is no response, which is what I was expecting. Microsoft doesn't want you to easily bypass this. And as you can see, not only is the next button grayed out, but you can barely see these icons down here. That's because they are also grayed out. If they're grayed out, they're not clickable. So that's universal across Windows, going all the way back to Windows 3.0. That has never changed in what's it been, 30 years. So for those of you new or less experienced with computers, this is a great way for you to understand the consistencies that have existed for decades in the Windows operating system, so you can know immediately by looking at it that clicking those things is not an option and not even worth considering. Move on to the next idea to work around that. We can hit Control-Alt-Delete. That should bring up the task manager, one would hope. I'm having some connection issues, I think, with this keyboard. Yeah, Control-Alt-Delete is not working, unfortunately. So by going into the Alt F10 and bringing up the command window, yeah, I'm not sure why I'm having, there's definitely seemingly a problem with this keyboard. That's interesting to me. I'm getting a weird blue light on it I haven't seen before, and I know the battery I got a good charge on it because I charged it not too long ago, and I get about 3 or 4 months out of a charge on these wireless keyboard and mouse. So let me just click here, and then we'll hit, was it Alt F10? I can't remember what it is. Yeah, it's really bizarre. That's very strange. And it's frustrating, right, that Microsoft is forcing this. And again, there's always workarounds. It's something you wouldn't mess with on Windows 10. It's very easily, there's the option to skip past it. Microsoft will probably change that. Not that it matters, since Windows 10 only has like 3 years of life left in it anyway. But they're definitely going to be pursuing and locking this down more and more. This is only the beginning. This is only an introduction to what's coming from Microsoft in regards to treating Windows as a service, requiring internet access, and forcing you to have an account. So let me just look back with Shift F10, not Alt. That's why I'm screwing up here. Shift F10, that's better, thank you. And then again, OOBE /bypass NRO is simply not going, it's not going to work. In fact, I'm not even getting any text on the screen, which again is some keyboard issue I'm having, which I don't understand why I'm having this issue. There we go. I guess I just hadn't selected the window. OOBE /bypass NRO. Now, I don't know what just happened there, but it looks like it took effect. Let's see what happens. Not quite sure why it wasn't working before, except I did change the directory. And maybe you've got to be in that System32 directory, which makes sense to me. Now, I'm assuming the system's bypassing that. I don't know what it's doing right now. One of the downsides, I suppose, of going live on a video with a product you've never used before and with an operating system I don't know all that well, because quite frankly, none of my customers have this. There's no need for me to know it. My knowledge and experience is useful with Windows 10 to get in and out quickly. And while I do have a couple of home consumers that have gone to Windows 11, I have not had any opportunity to work with them on it. Any problems they've had in Windows 11, they've sort of been on their own to resolve. That's what Google is for, and besides, it saves them money by resolving it on their own. But Windows 11 has been out over a year now. There's certainly nothing to be afraid of. It's just a learning curve, and this is an example of that. And it does appear that that command has worked. Let's see what happens this time. It's going to ask us the same questions again. I'll click yes, and I will click yes, and I will click yes, and I will click skip. Now let's see if we can bypass this. Now the option I don't have internet is blue. You see, it's not shaded out anymore. And thank you to my friends in the chat for assistance with that. Since I am live, I hate to do Google searches and whatnot when I'm live. Do we want to get started now? We're going to not get started now with a connection. We're going to say continue with limited setup, which is all I've been looking for this whole time. But you can see that it's very easily done when you know what the steps are. So it's a great opportunity to share that with everybody. And once again, I have a wonderful community here, very knowledgeable community, who saves me the effort of having to go look it up myself. It says enter your name. In this area, I just typically write the word user, since we don't really have a customer for this. I leave the password blank, and we're just going to let it, I turn off everything but location settings. These settings can be adjusted either way in the control panel once the system is in the hands of a customer. This is my personal preference, and then we're going to hit next and accept. And now it's resetting, I guess, rebooting. Well, maybe doing some driver installations, and we wait for it to take the settings that it's asked us for, and then apply them into the Windows install. And then we can connect it to the internet, and then we can hit Windows Update. And that would be the general process of any new computer you ever get. If you're buying a computer from me, all this is already done for you. And you would go into the control panel under the users section if you wanted to set a password, set a username, or sign in with a Microsoft account. So generally speaking, when you're buying a pre-built, the Windows installation is 75% done, 80% done, and then you have to do the final bit that we're doing along with any updates that are missing. And if it's a computer that's been sitting on a shelf for a long time, that can take hours to get all the updates. I mean, you could ignore it. The updates will eventually happen in the background automatically, but getting yourself online on a new computer without updates, whew, that's a bit dangerous. I would never do that to a customer, and I wouldn't take the liability either. However, when you are a Microsoft partner, you're required to set it up this way and force your customer to accept the end user license agreement. You can't accept that on behalf of the user. As far as Microsoft is concerned, the law doesn't care. Microsoft policies, when you work for Microsoft, are law if you want to keep your job. But when you don't work for Microsoft, you don't. Their policies have no impact on you. There's no way to enforce them, and there's no punishment. It's unenforceable. So anyway, so here we are, Windows 11. We're logged in, and let me just go ahead and plug an Ethernet cable into it so we can go ahead and grab any missing updates before we begin evaluating, because it's not fair to evaluate a system where the OS may have improvements that affect our performance and reliability of the machine. So it wouldn't be a fair review if the OS wasn't current and up to date, as well as all the drivers, which is going to happen automatically through Windows updates. So with the Ethernet connection installed, we should be able to simply, I don't know, we can just type, I think, can't we? Can't we just go down here and type? No? Okay, we'll go over here and we'll go to Settings, and at the bottom, on the left, it says Windows Update, and we'll hit check for updates. Now, while that's running, we just take another look in the chat room and see what you guys are talking about. Serge says, Carrie, what's a good phone number we can reach out to you? I have an issue. I would like to speak with you. You can't. I have 10,000 viewers every single day. Can you imagine if I just said, hey, call me? Somebody's got to pay the phone bill. Somebody's got to answer the phone and spend time with people on the phone. So when I have paying customers trying to reach me, I can't have them getting a voicemail where I am constantly tied up because strangers on the internet want to talk to me. However, if you want to set up a consultation with me, you can submit a payment through PayPal, and then I would respond to you with a phone number, and we would schedule a time to speak. I am my only employee, and as you can imagine, the number of requests I get for people that want to talk to me, while it's flattering, it would take 47 hours a day just to talk to people, and I wouldn't be able to get any work done. So you can always reach out to me here in chat if you want free support. You need to ask your question while I'm live. If you want a consultation where you have my time and only you have my time, there is a $100 fee for that, and that's simply a way to separate out people who are not considerate of other individuals who are in fact paying me for my time, and it's not fair to everybody else. So it's the only way I've found where I can actually keep up, because the people who will actually pay for my time is a fraction of the percentage of the people who want it for free. So it's a difficult place to be in, and I do my best to help people, but I do my free help only while I'm live, just so you know. And not only that, not only is it free for you to ask in the chat, you also get alternative solutions that might be better aligned, and it's better for the person asking that they can get a number of different responses potentially and try them all, or perhaps see one that seems more aligned to them that didn't come from me. So when we take on somebody isolating my time for themselves, there's also that liability that I endure as well. So I'm pretty cautious about just reaching out to people randomly online. It's created problems, unexpected problems. And so that kind of had to stop once the channel reached a certain size. It just became overwhelming. Just too many people want too many things all at the same time. And I don't know if they don't think that there's other people asking the exact same things from me, or I'm not quite sure what the thought process is, but I always make sure my customers are prioritized, right? Paying customers, the bread and butter of my business. the videos I do for fun, and of course to the people who support the channel and enable me to make more content through purchasing other equipment and products to review and computers to build. That's shared amongst the entire community. So it's been the only way I've been able to figure this out. And boy, I'll tell you what, I don't like telling people no. And because of that, I got myself buried in so much work. I still have at least 18 computers here to get through. And as my only employee, I'm the only one who can do it. And if I don't do it, it doesn't get done, and then the parts depreciate in value, making it less profitable for me. So it's a very tough position time management wise. But again, my main business is servicing real life customers as a real life technician, and people who want to hire me certainly can email me, and that usually starts through a PayPal contribution that shows sincerity. It shows that you're not somebody who's just trying to, I don't know, take advantage. And it's very hard to tell on the internet who is sincere from who isn't. It's a difficult place to be. However, I just want to explain it to you so you can understand my position. What does OOBE mean? It means out of box experience. Andre Hernandez joins us. Hey, Andre. He says, thank you for your time. That case did come from California. Okay, well, I mean, if it shipped all the way from California, I guess you should be able to ship it back to Arizona. We shouldn't have to worry about any damage shipping it, assuming you haven't removed it. It's all the packing and original packing is all there and sealed. My concern, Andre talked about shipping a Corsair 200R case to me that's brand new in a box. And I was concerned about damage, whether or not it needed to be double boxed. So, yeah, it seems like a green light. You should be able to ship it to me and reasonably expect there to not be any damage to it. If it's shipped from California all the way to Florida, so just turning around and relabeling it, shipping it to Arizona, if all the packing is intact and it preferably hasn't been removed from the case, it sounds like it's going to be okay. Eddie Sawyer says hello. Who else do we have here in the chat room? Let's take a look. I have to take a look, I should say, full screen to see what this computer's doing. Oh, it's downloading updates. Okay. And while it does offer us to restart now, I'm going to just be patient and let it continue to download updates, because if we restart now, it's going to apply the updates it's already installed. And whatever it's downloading, it'll have to start over again, which will just ultimately take longer. So I'm going to be patient so that I don't have to wait as long, if that makes any sense. I hope it does. And if you have any technical questions for me, this is a great time to ask in the chat room. As I mentioned, we have very knowledgeable people in our chat room that might have more than likely will have a better answer than I do. Yeah, I encourage people, especially those looking for free support. The only way you'll find that from me is in a live video. Just so you know, that's where you're going to need to go. All right, let's see what else you guys are talking about in here. Oystein, who watches us all the way from Norway, contributes 50 Norwegian krona. He says, it's so nice to sit down in front of the PC and watch a quality YouTube video after finally finishing an expensive divorce. Keep up the good work, Carrie. The old joke is, do you know why divorce is expensive? Because it's worth it. Let's just take a look here. Thank you, Oystein, for your contribution, and thanks to all my friends in the chat for the solution to bypassing that ridiculous requirement for Microsoft. Let's see. Mortant joins us in the chat and says hello. Welcome in. Reg Cooper contributes €2. OOBE is a folder in System32, not a command. It's both. OOBE should be a command and a folder. I'd have to go in and look, but these are little details that I'm not quite sure really make much difference, other than if you see how I bypassed it. So if you should encounter the same situation, then you see firsthand, not through hearsay and not from reading an article, you actually see what had to be done to bypass it. That's the important lesson there. Let's take a look. Again, I'm just kind of scrolling through the chat to see what else we're missing. And by the way, thank you for your contribution as well. Maxtor says it's not a switch, but rather bypass NRO is a command line. I haven't seen the ability to go to a subfolder without first entering a backslash. So if it's possible that simply typing the folder name with a backslash for the name of an executable within it, that's new to me. I haven't, and I don't recall that being functional in DOS. But either way, regardless of the technical aspect of what's actually happening there, the important, see, here's the thing. Here's what I'm trying to get to. If OOBE is the folder name and bypass NRO is the executable name, then the instruction should be to change the folder to OOBE. And once you're in that subfolder, then execute the file, bypass NRO. That's how I would have written the instructions if it was me writing it. I'd have to go and look in the file structure to verify this, but nonetheless, it's something that's easily verifiable. And regardless of the education of command line switches, folder structure, well, I could stand to be corrected on that, and I'm not suggesting that I'm beyond that. I am saying that it's a bit off topic. I was trying to make a point, and in trying to make that point, you guys, some of you have latched onto that rather than what I was attempting to accomplish, which should have been the focus of the discussion. But nonetheless, for those that are very technically minded and want those kind of details, it's something you could very easily verify. It doesn't change the steps, but it certainly may change the reasoning that I was using to explain command line switches. So again, if it's an executable file, and I'm not doubting you, but I just don't know, then I would have suggested you type CD space OOBE enter, then type bypass NRO enter. That's the way the direction should have been written, in my opinion, if in fact that is an executable file. But regardless of that, doesn't really matter as long as we're able to accomplish what we've set out to do. And if we want to be developers and if we want to be programmers, and we're going to be tested on that later, then it's important we get that all straight. But for the exercise that we're demonstrating today, I just wanted to show how to bypass that, because it would appear to most end users that's not possible, when in fact it's quite possible and very easy, as we demonstrated. So I hate the idea that we're getting hung up on a technicality and that we would take time away from moving forward to be held backwards, and not only backwards, but sideways. We're not even in that direction, to no different result. So again, if that matters to you, you absolutely can verify that. It's very simple, but the step is the same regardless. Now, as I continue through the chat, I want to see if there's other questions that continue to either move us forward or are related to the device or to the work we're doing, at which point I would be happy to address those. Mike Visions with a £2 contribution says, hello, Carrie, and all in chat. Hey, Mike, welcome in. Thank you for supporting the channel. LRCX joins us from California. Welcome in, Larry. Shamim says, what do you think about upgrading to DDR5? Is it too soon? Is it worth it? For me personally, I don't think it's worth it. For you, that's for you to decide. Give it a year when the prices are more in line with DDR4. If it was twice as fast as DDR4, I could justify paying twice the price. But it isn't twice as fast. It is twice the price. It was 3 and 4 times the price. So already the price has become more reasonable. But when compared to DDR4, for most people, you're not going to see any difference whatsoever in real life. Now, if you have a super high-end flagship processor like a 12900K or a 13900K, and you want to pay extra for a motherboard that supports DDR5, and you want to pay double for the same amount of RAM in DDR5 format, you will see maybe 10 or 20% increase in RAM resource intensive activity. That doesn't apply to most people, and certainly if you don't have a flagship processor, you'd be better off upgrading your processor. But that's my opinion. When DDR5 becomes the standard, give it a year, price will be more reasonable, and there's going to be faster DDR5 available. I promise you, next year, the speed of which the DDR5 RAM operates, there will be options of higher speeds than are available today if that's important to you. It depends on how you use the machine. For me and any of my customers, I advise them to stay away from it. It's just not worth the money. You're going to pay a lot to get just a little tiny bit of benefit, and that's assuming you would get any benefit at all. In other words, if you were to get a benefit, you'd have to have a super high processor, high-end processor, and you'd have to have some pretty super high-end intensive tasks that you're running. And if you fit that category, then it would be worth it for you. Maybe. But for me and my customers, not yet. And again, thank you for the question. Matt Power says, if I get a new computer with Windows 11, can I roll it back to Windows 10 without getting in trouble? I don't know. It kind of depends on whether or not the computer you get has the ability to roll back to Windows 10. In most cases, probably be okay, but I wouldn't advise it. I don't think Windows 11 is anything to run from. I also don't think it's anything to run to. It's sort of like if, when somebody's given birth and you say, do you want a boy or a girl? And they go, I don't care, right? I don't care. As long as I have a healthy baby, it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. If you have a healthy computer and it comes with Windows 10 or it comes with Windows 11, they're essentially the same operating system. So I don't see any reason to downgrade that. Doesn't make any sense to me. I also don't see any reason to upgrade it. That doesn't make any sense to me. Because this computer came with Windows 11, and it is a 12th gen processor, and Windows 11 is better optimized for Intel 12th and 13th gen processors. There is a reason to keep it. In reality, will you notice that optimization? Probably not. Is it possible there are some parts of the motherboard that will not function in Windows 10? Some features? It's possible, yes, absolutely. And Windows 10 expires on October 14th of 2025, at which point you'll be forced to then turn around and undo the thing you undid to put it back the way it was. So you're just going to walk in a big circle for no apparent reason. You won't be able to hold on to Windows 10 after it expires. Doing so is only hurting yourself. You're not getting away with anything. So, well, you probably could downgrade to Windows 10. I don't know why you would. You will have to upgrade it to Windows 11. You will have to. So if you've already got it, better to start learning today than to have to learn 3 years from now, because then you're going to be 3 years behind. But at the end of the day, it's your computer, it's your experience, and what ends up happening is your benefit and your consequences. I cannot predict the future, and not all computers are the same. Some may be super easy, some may be very difficult. There is not a one-size-fits-all. If you're looking for a one-size-fits-all, Apple Computers is better aligned for somebody who wants a blanket answer that applies to everybody no matter what, and they charge a lot of money to do that work for you. They limit your abilities, they limit your freedoms, they limit your options, and in doing so, they can guarantee an experience of reliability and performance that is the same as everybody else. In the world of PCs, the idea is that you're able to customize to your needs and express yourself and to have competition and choices of different video cards, motherboards, processors, RAM, cases, power supplies, storage devices. There's thousands upon thousands of variables of combinations of hardware, and it's amazing that Windows just works well. Apple is a hardware company. They're not a software company, and they make everything the same. There's a few options this way and a few options that way, and that's the end of it. And there's no competition. There's no real third-party options. There's a couple, but nothing like the world of PC. So if you find that appealing, I think you'd be happier as an Apple owner, honestly. And while you pay a little bit more, all these decisions are made for you, and everything's already done. So if you enjoy the adventure and you enjoy the technical aspect, building your own computer, customizing it, installing, whether you want Windows 10, Windows 11, Linux, it's all yours to experiment with. And whether that's a good experience or a bad experience, whether that's easy or that's difficult, well, you're going to have to tell me. I have no idea what that will be like for you, unfortunately. Or fortunately. I see it as a benefit, personally. I absolutely hate how locked down and limited the world of Apple is. I don't like that everybody's sort of socialist. Everybody's the same and equal. I like the ability that I can be unique. My computer can reflect that, my uniqueness. And I can spend a little bit or I can spend a lot. It's not like we both are going to spend the exact same amount of money to get the exact same thing. When we're picking parts, it's highly unlikely you and I are picking the same parts. And it's highly unlikely you're going to pay the same for each part that I pay. But if we're buying Apple, I guarantee we're all paying the same. So if you see an appeal to that, you definitely should look into Apple computers. They're not bad. They're just not for somebody like me. I enjoy my freedom of choice. I enjoy competition, and I enjoy my freedom of expression. All right, let me just take a look over here how we're doing on our update. Looks like we're ready to restart. Okay. So again, while that's restarting, let me go back over to the chat and pick up where I left off here. Don't hate Apple phones. I switched from Android to Apple. It's much better, less bugs and issues. I completely disagree. I do have an Apple iPhone. It is a hindrance. It is difficult. It doesn't make any sense. It's like they're treating me like I'm 5 years old. I absolutely despise using it. And the reason I have it is I do some Amazon Live videos. And the only way I can initiate an Amazon Live video is through an iOS app. There is no other way to do it. So I just bought an Apple iPhone and I never activated it. All I did was just put it on Wi-Fi so I could go to the Apple Store. Now, if Amazon made the darn app for Android, I'd be a lot happier. But Android to me gives me far more granular controls, and Android to me is faster. It's much more responsive. I also think the picture's better on the Android, on my Samsung S22 than on my iPhone. I absolutely cannot stand it. I feel like it's like made by Tonka or Fisher Price. It feels like a child's toy, and the interface feels basic, really super basic, like I'm an idiot. Maybe that's the appeal of it for the general public. I personally find it insulting, and I despise any time I have to use it. I honestly thought I would, because I needed to be able to load iOS. Stupid me, I bought an iPhone. I should have bought an iPad. The screen's bigger. But I bought the iPhone, which was more expensive, because I really wanted to see what everybody was talking about, these iPhone users that love their iPhones. I don't know what you guys are seeing in it. I find it extremely limited, and there's some functions I'm looking for that just don't seem to exist. Some customizations I can't seem to find. And what is there is so basic, it's like you could hand it to a 5-year-old and they'd know how to use it without any education at all. And again, maybe that's the appeal. I prefer far more granular control, which just by default, Apple takes away on every product They don't want you having granular control. And the benefit of that is they can guarantee more or less your experience with reliability and with performance by not letting you do things that could hurt you. Which is like treating me like a child. I don't like it. But to each his own. I'm glad you enjoy yours. And the minute Amazon has their app for Android, I can't get rid of that iPhone fast enough. Every time I have to use it, it's cringy, so cringy. But that's why there are different products for different people. Somebody might say, what's the best phone? Well, you might think iPhone. And I would go to the exact opposite. Say, that's the worst phone you could get. It's expensive. It's like built for a child. And it's restricted. But, you know, that's why there's other options for us to pick from. We can pick the right device that's right for us. What's best for you is something I would gladly destroy. Seriously. I was so happy if I could just take a hammer to that iPhone. Oh, it's so insulting to use it. But hey, that's me, that's you. The world is made up of different people with different options, and that keeps it from getting boring, I suppose. Mortant said he has a Samsung S22 Ultra. Yeah, my preference, I like the Samsung Galaxy phones, and I can tell you right now, the S23 comes out, I'll be getting it probably on day one. I have no complaints with my S22, but I just can't wait to see what they're doing better in the S23. The picture quality, the movie quality, and of course, the interface I'm already familiar with. There's no going back to square one to learn all over again. And I don't have any problems at all with the S22. I don't have reliability problems. I don't have security problems. I get regular updates to the Android operating system. I think it's far, far superior to Apple at a fraction of the cost. That's my opinion. All right, let's see. We're going to go back to Windows Update over here, and then we can start doing some testing once we get all of our updates installed. I don't know why I keep scrolling down there. It's over here on the left. Download and install, download and install. Not quite sure why. I'm clicking and nothing's happening here. Close it and reopen it. The thing about Windows Update is even when you close it, it's still a service running in the background, so it's probably not going to make any difference. But let's just see what's happening. Well, those other options went away, didn't they? It might have still been installing. What is happening? I was going to say it might be finishing installing the previous updates. I might just be too impatient here. Weird. There is an Intel driver, it appears, that is failing for some reason. That's a new one. And I don't think that's a fault of the machine. I'm going to reboot one more time, but it may be just a driver incompatibility that's causing this issue. If I had to, guess, which is all I can do is guess. Let's go over here and let's do restart. And while it's restarting, let me go back. Go back over to the chat here, see what's going on. A couple of contributions that I've missed here in Super Chat. So a shout out and a thank you out to Craig Casabona with a $20 Super Chat contribution. Said, Carrie, nice to see you again. I really like watching your videos. I build a computer by myself because of you. Thanks. Well, thank you, Craig. And man, isn't it great? It's a lot of fun to build a computer. And I'm so glad that you enjoy my content, and I appreciate your support. Also out to Daniel Ramirez, 1999 Super Chat contribution. Says, keep doing what you do, and happy Wednesday. Yeah, well, it's Wednesday. I don't know that it's a happy one. It's been rainy all day today, which is not a bad thing unless you want to go outside. But at least the weather's a lot cooler, and I think Friday is going to be the coldest day of the year so far. I can't wait. Bring on the cold. Thank you for supporting the channel. Christopher said that was a fast reboot. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry, I wasn't watching. I'll take your word that it was fast. Let's try Windows Update again and see if we have any better luck. Otherwise, we'll just move on. Windows Update. Download and install. Yeah, so whatever that is, there's some, I'm likely guessing an incompatibility. I just wish I could look to see if there was any other updates beyond that. Like there's no check for updates I can do like on Windows 10. Maybe it does it on its own now. So nothing I can do about that. I have to assume we're all up to date with anything that truly matters. And let's take a look at system specifications and verify everything is what they say it is. MS-Info32, bring up our information, our specifications, Windows 11 Pro. Okay, that's interesting that they were requiring the Microsoft account on Pro. That was usually something they were doing only on the home versions. So I'd be kind of interested to see how corporations on the enterprise level are dealing with that. Because clearly you wouldn't want your users signing into a Microsoft account in a corporate environment where you have servers. So I imagine they have a different configuration option. What do we have here? We are in UEFI mode. You'll see the memory. It shows 16 gigs and then it'll show 15.8 that's usable. That's because 0.2 is required by our internal graphics card. Because the graphics card is built onto the CPU, it does not have its own memory. It has to borrow or share memory or steal memory from your system memory. So that's normal and to be expected. Okay, well, all that looks good. And let's just take a look at our storage here. Let's go over to Windows Explorer. Let's verify we have a 500 gig drive installed. Click on Properties and look at our use space, total space. And yeah, so 500 gigs there. And then we can run a few utilities on this just out of curiosity and see what kind of performance we're going to get. This is not a high performance machine. Don't expect to be blown away with record numbers. It's also not expensive. However, it's certainly going to be more than responsive enough for office tasks, whether that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Gmail, any sort of web browsing, printing, scanning, all that stuff is going to handle super easily. Let me put my utilities flash drive in here. Now, a lot of times from these manufacturers that are smaller, you're just simply not going to get the BIOS updates like you would from, say, Intel. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It kind of depends if it's a security concern. It's not like you're going to change the processor out, so you don't have to worry about that. These processors are typically laptop-style processors that are soldered onto the board and are not replaceable. The only thing you should be able to upgrade or replace is the storage itself, the NVMe drive, and the amount of RAM you should be able to remove or add to. So going back to just taking a look at our storage here, I'm just kind of curious. Let's see. PC testing software. It's Crystal Disk Mark. Crystal Disk Info. CPU Z. These are all free utilities. You just Google. You can download them for free. And we can take a look at temps. Temps really shouldn't be a problem on this unless we're using it in a way it's not been designed to be used. And let's see, what do I have? Okay, let's run this test and and see what it comes up with. And in the meantime, while we wait for that to run, I'm just going to go back over to the chat, see what you guys are talking about. Lawn Dog says, I love those little mini PCs. They're so powerful in general, depending on what you choose. They're small and exactly put anywhere. Oh, easily put anywhere. Just an incredible bit of technology in a small space. Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. It's absolutely impressive. Some people are just never happy. They got to, they have unrealistic expectations, which leads to just a lifetime of disappointment. But when you really think about how far we've come and how much power is in that little box, and at that price, wow, it's pretty incredible. Elko says, man, I am loving it. I got my new system fully built and set up with dual boot with Win 10 and Server 2022. Right on. My Raspberry Pi can do all of those things. What's its selling point? Your Raspberry Pi doesn't have near the amount of power this has, nor does it have the compatibility for applications. So you can enjoy your Raspberry Pi, enjoy your $20 computer. Yeah, you're going to get what you pay for. But, look, I'm not here to convince you of value. I could serve you a filet mignon and tell you that's a $50 steak. And you might think it tastes exactly like ground chuck. Right? I'm not here to convince you of value. If you don't see the value, I don't care. I'm not selling these. I'm just trying to look at it open-mindedly. If you don't want to, that's fine. That's fine. You would not have any use for it, so therefore you won't find any value in it. But I would have no use for a Raspberry Pi. To me, that's one step short of a lawn sprinkler system. I mean, it's so basic and simple. It's extremely limited. And it requires a whole lot of time. So if you're somebody who has a ton of time and very little money, Raspberry Pi is right up your alley. Or if you're just a hobbyist who enjoy tinkering, and once again, you don't want to dump a whole lot of money, Raspberry Pi could be a great solution for very simplistic tasks. When it comes to actually doing any work, processing power of a Raspberry Pi is very, very minimal compared to a modern day processor. So, but to each their own, and each device has a purpose. There's different reasons why these products exist. They're not necessarily overlapping. Andre Hernandez with a $19.99 Super Chat contribution. Thank you, Andre. Lawn Dog says, did you like the way that you navigate through the iPhone to get something accomplished, like gathering a photo, adding text, and sending it, or doing other things logical and intuitive? No, I find nothing about the iPhone logical. I find nothing about the iPhone appealing. Nothing. Person of my personality, I have a type A personality and I like control. Apple wants the control. They don't want to give you the control. I don't find anything about that easy. And I don't like that there's typically just one way to do things and that's the way that's superior and there's no other way. So for a person like me, there's nothing about the iPhone that I like. Not a single thing. I use it simply because I have no choice if I'm going to do Amazon Live videos. If I'm just going to make videos and upload them to Amazon, I don't need an iPhone for that. But there's no way to initiate a live stream, to add product to a live stream, or to end a live stream without the iOS app. And I don't know why Amazon didn't translate that to Android. Doesn't make any sense to me. And it's been over a year and they still haven't done it. The day that I can switch so I can load the Amazon Live application on my Android phone, that's going to be a good day. And I will likely smash my iPhone with a hammer and giggle like a schoolboy. Just giggle. The whole interface is so insulting to me. I don't know that I can put it in enough words. And the amount of money I paid for it, just stupid. But hey, that's just me. Don't let my requirements have any impact on yours, and vice versa. Kyle says, have you built a computer with the donated parts yet? No, Kyle, speaking of which, Kyle sent us, I think it's an 8th gen chip and board, and we need to put some RAM on it. We need to find a little case for it and find some storage for it. I haven't done anything with it. I still haven't finished Peter's train PC, and I haven't finished my own upgrade. So I have found myself backlogged again, but there are still 2 more pre-built machines that are going out to veterans that have not been shipped. And then with your contribution, I'll have a 3rd one. And then I think I have 1 other one that needs some final, I don't know what it's waiting on, cable management or something. And so those will all go out as giveaways, preferably to veterans or at least to community members that would benefit from receiving them. And it's from the community and to the community. And I thank you for contributing and making it possible that somebody could benefit from your contribution and giving that PC a second life rather than have it go in the recycle bin. I haven't even so much as tested it, so I'm assuming it works, but I will have to locate the RAM and storage case. And I got tons of power supplies, but I have to take care of these other things that are around here first. So, but stay tuned. When you see another video titled PC giveaway, it likely will be the one that you contributed. All right, looks like our test finished over here. Let me take a quick look. Full screen. All right, it looks like we've got Gen 3 level performance here, or very low level Gen 4 performance. 3630 on the sequential reads, 2897 on the sequential writes. That's pretty impressive for a machine that size. Remember, if we were getting just outrageous numbers, it would likely have heat-related problems, and you would likely only see milliseconds of difference. It would be a waste of money. People get hung up on numbers for some reason instead of on the reality. So those numbers are better than I expected, and I'm happy with that. And then if we look at CPU-Z, we can pull up some specifications of what's inside of here with more detail. So let's take a look. So there's our processor. Current processing speeds are down here as it sort of cranks down to save on energy usage and heat, and then ramps up as needed. Little information about our motherboard is located here. And we do have full BIOS information. It's possible that they provide updated BIOSes to it. I just don't know. I'm not too familiar with the brand, but this does look promising. And then with regards to the installed RAM, slot 1, slot 2. So it does appear to be in dual channel mode. Built-in graphics in the CPU. Everything looks pretty good, I have to say. These mini computers just keep getting better and better and better. Now, with regards to benchmarking it, I have to really emphasize, this is not a machine anybody's buying for record benchmarks, right? We can get an idea more or less of what to expect, but at the end of the day, loading Word, loading Excel, browsing the web, most of the bottlenecks on machines today are the user themselves. You can't type fast enough. I can tell you right now, this machine is constantly going to be waiting on you, the end user. If you're using this machine for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, it's not designed for that. You're taking something and using it in a way it was not intended, and you likely are not going to have a very good experience with it. Let's say you have a business, and at your business you have everybody sits at a desk in an office, and on your desk you've got your phone, maybe you got a picture of the family, you probably have a stack of paperwork and a stack of paperwork and a stack of paperwork. Where does the computer go? And having a big computer like this on the floor, you might be bumping into it with your chair, hitting it with your foot. It might be in the way is what I'm getting at. And at the end of the day, if you can be told, we could take that big box off the floor and put this little tiny box and hook it behind your monitor and free all that space up. And you're still going to be able to do all your business work. You're still going to be able to open your QuickBooks, your Quicken, your Excel, your Word, Outlook, your Gmail, pay your bills online, Adobe Acrobat. You're going to be able to do all that essentially with the exact same performance from your perspective as the user. And you can do it for $500. What you're not going to be able to do is, if it breaks out of warranty, it's likely not repairable. This would be more or less a disposable computer. The good news is it's cheap. I could buy 2 of these for what that graphics card in that machine cost. I could buy 2 of these for what that CPU cost. I could buy half of these, half of one, just for my cooler. I could buy 1 of these just for the cost of my NVMe storage in this computer. So I don't know how many of these I could have bought, but I could buy them, destroy them, throw them away, and replace it with another brand new one out of the box several times over before I reach the expense of this machine. But this machine has the ability to do super high-end resource-intensive work, including high-end gaming, if that's something you want to do. This machine's more versatile, more upgradable, and it's about 9 times the cost of that. Is it 9 times better? It's better in the sense that it has many more options it's capable of doing, but that doesn't mean that's what you're using it for. I don't game on this. This would be a great gaming machine if I gamed, but I don't. The power and performance of that make it ideal for editing video, but most of my videos are live. I don't edit video much anymore. With regards to like those animations that are created in the beginning of my videos, this kind of hardware is necessary if you want to be able to get those animations done in a reasonable period of time. Some of those animations take many, many hours to render out, but I don't do them. My sister does them. So she has a high-end machine for that purpose. Everything else she uses that machine for, this would do everything else. And it would be unnoticeably the same in performance. But when it comes to those intros and outros, the 3D rendering, this could do it, but it would take a long time and it would probably, risk overheating it. So would not be the right way to use this. If you take a screwdriver and you want to use it as a hammer, it's definitely not as good as a hammer. It might break the screwdriver. So, have the right expectations, understand, what you're paying for the money, what you're getting for the money, and what the machine is really designed to, the kinds of problems this machine is designed to solve. The customers that I have that have these absolutely love them. Love them. I've never had a customer say to me, I don't like it, get rid of it. It's never happened. Most customers don't even know these exist. But once you introduce it to them, they're very skeptical. That little thing right there, you're telling me that is going to do everything this one does. I'm going to tell you it's doing everything you're using that one for, and it'll be imperceptibly the same. And so for many of my customers, well, for a couple of them, I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to just leave it with you and let you evaluate it. You tell me. If you don't like it, I'll take it back. If you do like it, I'll send you an invoice for it. I've never taken any back. I don't know many lawyers' offices that are 3D gaming, so, it's really not an issue. I don't know any accountants that are rendering out videos. But yeah, the accountants can put the tax software on there. It sort of depends. Obviously there are some clients they have that have extremely complicated tax returns. And this machine, when processing probably something that large, would be a bit slower than a modern day desktop computer. But if they're only working on those once in a while, overall 95% of the time they're not going to tell a difference. With regards to temps, like it's been on now for some time, we're not really using it for anything. So it would be a shock if it was overheating or running hot, right? I don't expect it is, but only one way to know for sure, and that's we just kind of run the software to investigate that. Typically, when the machine starts running hot, you're going to hear the fan spool up. And because I don't hear the fan spooling up, I can also touch the machine, and it's room temperature. It's not hot at all. I can fairly soundly conclude that it's running at a very reasonable temperature, probably identical to any desktop computer sitting idle at the desktop. But let's just verify it, right? We can assume all day, we can look for the clues and the hints, but that doesn't mean anything apart from what the facts say. So let's take a look and see what reports back in that regard. Oh, that's not what I wanted to carry. I think my screen went back to 4K mode because everything, oh, this computer must be in 4K. All the text got really, really tiny. Yeah, that is super tiny. It says it's a Kingston 500 gig NVMe 4X. It doesn't mean it's Gen 4. A SanDisk. Oh, that's my flash drive I plugged in. Okay. Where are our temps? Clock speeds, memory speeds, everything in detail, none of which I'm interested in. And the thing I am interested in, oh, I see. It's up at the top. It's been a while since I've used this program. We got to hit the sensors button up here. That's what I want. And now let me walk back over here so I can read it. What do we have? Current temps sitting 41 degrees Celsius. CPU package at 44 degrees Celsius. We have 59 degrees before it will thermal throttle. Well, just take 40 or 41 and minus it from 100. That's how they're getting there. Our minimum temp was 36 degrees Celsius, and our maximum temp, since we've turned it on and run some tests on it, it's reached only 60 degrees. That's the maximum temp. So this isn't something that's designed, you know, to throw some huge rendering workload on. It's not what it's for. To have this in a, say for a home theater, you can set it next to your audio and video equipment. It just kind of blends in. Have yourself a wireless keyboard and mouse and stream your movies, stream your music, Netflix, Amazon Prime, what have you, with a lot more power and a lot more responsiveness than, say, an Amazon Fire Stick. You know, you've got a fully working PC. On the other hand, with a Fire Stick, you don't generally worry about things like antivirus software and things of that nature, but you also don't deal with this kind of RAM and processing power. So this can be so much more than what a Fire Stick can do. You know, it's a 12th gen i5 computer in a very, very small package that outside of warranty likely is not repairable. So if it breaks outside of warranty, just replace it. Sort of like remember Bic lighters? They're not refillable. When they ran out of butane, you toss them in the trash. Machines like this are built to serve a very specific purpose, which is to give you the computing power for regular everyday usage and business usage, and that suits the vast majority of computer users, unless you're a specialist. And it does so very inexpensively, so that instead of upgrading it, you simply replace it after a few years. A machine like this is likely going to work well for 10 years, just off the top of my head, assuming it remains powerful enough and compatible with whatever the latest secure operating system is to be on the internet with it. As far as like replacing it, you're more likely going to replace it because your power adapter failed, and maybe you don't realize that's what the problem is, or because something else has come out that's a lot faster and potentially the same size or smaller, and maybe the same price, but you're giving you so much more for the money, because that's effectively all that keeps happening year after year. PCs have always been around $1,200, but what you're getting for the $1,200, you keep getting more and faster, and in some cases shrinking it down too. So in this case, we're well below that $1,200 baseline price. You're looking at a $500 machine. On Amazon today, there's a $30 coupon code. The machine is whisper quiet. And, I'm not quite sure what questions you might have that would be appropriate that I haven't already discussed, but fire them at me and let's see if there's anything I can answer or something I've been overlooking. Draw my attention to that. Richard joins us. Hey, Richard, welcome into the chat. If you've asked a question that I haven't answered, it's probably because I haven't seen it. So go ahead and if you put that back in the chat, ask again. Now that I'm paying attention, I'll do my best to provide an answer. Does it have Wi-Fi? Yes, it does have Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi 6. Yeah. I didn't hook up the Wi-Fi because for me to do so would expose what my Wi-Fi is to the whole world. Because I'm broadcasting and there are people with nothing else better to do than harass me, I'm just going to plug it in. When I'm off camera, I can set it up on Wi-Fi. And it has Bluetooth as well. I mean, I can't hear it. I mean, it's dead silent. I imagine if we really throw a hard workload on it, we will hear the fan ramp up no differently than a laptop. Mike Visions is saying good night. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. I know it's pretty late at night, about 2 o'clock in the morning there in the UK. So appreciate you staying up late and hanging out with us. Always good to see you, and always appreciate your contributions and support of the channel as well. I'm just continuing to scroll through the chat just to see if there's anything else I've missed. It's slowed down pretty much, so I have to assume that there are no further questions. It's a pretty simple review. It's so similar to other Nooks that I've reviewed and to some extent built in the past here on the channel as far back as April of 2013. It's more of the same, just updated with latest technology. So obviously a better value, better deal. And I don't see anything to dislike about this product. I'm very glad they sent it to me. I had no idea if they were sending me something that I was going to like or not. Whenever I agree to review a product, I'm always hopeful that I'm going to like it. If somebody sends me, reaches out to me and says, would you review this product, and I think it's a product I'm not going to like, I'm going to decline it. But if I think I'm likely going to like the product, give it the benefit of the doubt, I'll agree and have them send it. And then, I always hope for the best. I don't want to make a video putting any products down. So if you see me reviewing anything, with very few exceptions, I expect that review to go well. There have been a couple occasions, and it's very rare, that a product is so bad I bought it just because I had to show it to you. So, you know, that HP pre-built computer, oh, that was pretty rough. And that case from Kadairs, still stands today as the absolute worst computer case I have ever had the unfortunate experience or opportunity to have to endure. So those are the rare exceptions where I intentionally will, in those cases, I pay with my own money. I don't ask the company to send me their product so I can insult them. I pay for it. And then I'm properly upset because I realize how much I just paid for that. I'm nowhere near as upset if they send it to me for free. So to get the real genuine emotional response, it's got to hit me on the wallet, just the same way I imagine you would feel. So I'm delighted with the quality of this. I am kind of curious about how it's built on the inside. I suppose we could remove these 4 screws and see what's inside. Let me just let me hit the power button here, and that should cycle it down. We'll go back to full screen on camera 1 so you can see me better. Camera 1, there it is. And let me take my flash drive out. Let's just pull all these cables out of here. Put the Wi-Fi dongle back in the mouse so I don't lose it. And let's take a look. I don't like that little tag. I really don't like that. If I had to complain about something, and you know me, I have to complain about something. I don't like that. I don't know who's supposed to see that. Oh, that's a very tiny little screw. Very tiny. I must have lost my magnetism on this driver. I'm used to lifting the driver and having the screw come with it, and it's very weak. Still a little bit of magnetism, not much. Oh, you know what? I like that little tab now because trying to get this separated, it sits recessed. This plate sits recessed, and you'd have to stick some kind of a spudger or something in there. So with this little, it's essentially a pull tab, and it looks like you could just, if you didn't like it, it looks like you can just pull it straight out. But now I understand why it's there. Let's take a look at what's inside of this. Let's get close up. This is pretty interesting. If you notice, when we're coming at it from the bottom, right, that's where the screws are. We have our cooler right there. And this is to hold a 2.5-inch hard drive or solid state drive. So if we have a drive around here somewhere, and I do, where am I? It would go this way. Look at that. I don't know if there's any way to secure it. Probably says something in the directions. That's how easy it is if you wanted to add SATA storage. And you know, they have these SATA drives as big as 8 terabytes for like $600 now. So that's a pretty nice feature. I like that. Oh, I'm glad I opened this. I didn't think there was going to be much to see in here. I'm just going to knock everything over. That's what it looks like. Now, how do we get down below that? How do we get to the opposite side? Carrie, the video on Amazon shows the inside. Yeah, but I'm not interested in showing the inside. I'm interested in how to get to it. Now I do see a screw here, right here. That's different from those other four. It's longer. Oh, I think I see what's going on here. Back in, all the way in the back, there are some screws. You got to look carefully for them. So we have a screw. No, wait a minute. I can't see my. I'm on the delayed feed. I got to see the live. There we are. So the screw I just removed is right there by my finger. But if you look very, very closely, deep in the corners, next to where the screws went out, but just deeper, you will see in each corner a screw back down in there. And I suspect, I have a hunch, that removing those deep recessed screws might be what we need to get to the other side. But I am not digging this screwdriver being as weak as it is. So let me grab my other one. That one seems too big. Oh, those have a little Loctite on them. 1, 2, this driver's a little bit wide for those other 2 screws. So I can just take, let's see if I take my magnet, will that work? Oh, much better. Okay, let's put that away. Ooh, even that one's a bit tight. Yeah, that's a bit tight. This one I already took out. That's why I'm not getting anywhere. It's these 2 closest to you I have yet to remove. Boy, that one can't seem to align properly. So I will get my iFixit toolkit because it's got some more precision drivers in it that are more ideal for this task. That's the Mako precision bit set that I use for this task. You could say I always put it all back the way it came new. Keep it all together. And we'll pull out this driver handle right here. And I think this is the bit we want. Let's just try. Oh, you know what? This may be too wide. Yeah. What shall I do? Oh, I know what to do. So this, the problem is it's just a little bit wide. We need a longer bit essentially, but this is not the ideal toolkit for this. That's okay. I have other options. I'll tell you what, having the right tool can determine whether a job is easy or complicated. I do believe I have the right tool. Aha. That's what I needed this whole time. And a flashlight. So it looks like I've been turning it, I just can't feel it. So there's one. Keep those together. And there's just one last one here. Yeah, yeah, I just couldn't see. And I'm guessing that these are the screws I need to remove. I could be wrong. I could just, be doing this for no reason at all. It's part of my exploration and discovery, which I would do as a field service tech if I was called out to service one of these and I'd never serviced one before. Aha! Here we go. That's what I was looking for. And based on what I'm seeing, I'll tell you what, it looks like I only needed to take out that top screw, that middle screw down here, right down there, and then the screw in the opposite corner. It looks like the screws in these two corners are simply holding the board in position, and we're sort of tangled, not tangled, but rather tethered with some pretty short cables here. So you want to be very careful. If I move this over here, we want to be very careful that we don't break these cables, right? We could disconnect it here. Just kind of wiggle on that and pull it. And then we disconnect it from here. There's our RAM. You see there's two sticks of crucial RAM in there. And then our NVMe drive, you'll see that's thermal tape right there. And how it aligns with this is actually being used as a heatsink. It's pretty interesting since it feels like plastic. I'm not quite sure how that works as a heatsink. And I think because I've unscrewed those other two screws now, nothing really holds this whole thing in anymore. I think it'll just fall out of there. I think. These ports, you may have to pull the plastic case away from these ports, and then the whole thing should just come right on out. That's a very simple design. I'm kind of digging it. Maybe I'm getting biased here, but I'm liking the flavor of this Kool-Aid is all I'm saying. And it just feels like something's still holding us in there. You typically do have to pull these away, but there might be a screw in. It's feeling like I'm missing a screw, but this side is easily coming out. It's this other side I'm having a little struggle with. And by being lazy and not properly disconnecting these two cables, I have to be very careful or I could very easily damage those cables. I would have liked a little bit more slack on there. It's particularly this power cable that's our main concern here. But it's in there tight. There it goes. Now I can set that aside. I'm not quite sure if we have to get this out on an angle. Will that work? Lift it up and then pull it away. Okay, there we go. Now, this is a little concerning. What is this? Let me set this down. Oh, you know what I think we have here? If I'm not mistaken, I think this is the antenna for the Wi-Fi, and it's soldered onto a piece. And it looks like by me taking this out, let me just double check. It looks like I'm going to have to resolder that wire. Usually, so I guess what you would need to do on this to avoid doing what I just did here by pulling the wire from its solder point here, which I am certain is the antenna for the Wi-Fi, is you would have to pull the NVMe drive out, and underneath of it, the Wi-Fi card is underneath, as is the CMOS battery. So if we were to take this NVMe drive out, you'd want to do that first before you remove this from the case, so you don't pull the antennas out. There we go. That's a super easy fix, by the way. Not a big deal, but a little homework would have helped, I suppose, prepare me for that. Now what's interesting is they have some type of a glue on these antenna wires, but they're just antenna wires. That's all it is. That's our Wi-Fi card. That's our CMOS battery. There's our M.2 slot, and of course our stacked RAM. Very similar to what you're going to see in a laptop. So, well, I've got it apart. I'll break out my soldering iron and solder that one wire back on. But you definitely want to disconnect the wires off of the Wi-Fi card. Or this is another option. We can take the Wi-Fi card and unplug it. Screw up there. The magnet was too strong. So yeah, we're going to take this screw out. And I can just take the entire, yeah, I don't know what this black goo is, but it was on the screw too. It's very strange. Very, very strange. Yeah, it's, come on. Wow, that is some weird goo. The goo is optional, folks. Yeah, and the goo is holding the card. I don't know how well you can pick up the goo. Anyway, by removing that, and then I can shift all of this away, like that. Put that up there. That's the whole computer. And then this is just a little antenna coming off the Wi-Fi card, and we just need to resolder it back on here. That should be no big deal. Yep, I see two soldering points on the black one. There's one right where the insulation starts, and then one right at the tip. So it looks like there's just two solder points there. And all that is, that's just your antenna, and that's underneath this tape. Obviously, the ability to have range through there is going to be heavily dependent on your antennas being hooked up. And then this is just the little red power button, little rubberized button right here. And yeah, that just fits in the hole there when we put it back together. Overall, it's very straightforward, a very simple build. And you would never necessarily need to take it out this far. For your ability to upgrade the RAM, upgrade the Wi-Fi, upgrade the NVMe, you only have to remove this plastic cover, which is just 3 screws. It's not the entire 4 screws. The other 2 screws were in the corners that hold the circuit board in, and the other 2 screws hold this piece in along with the circuit board, and then the additional 3rd screw in the middle. Overall, it's very easy to get into. I'm a little disappointed in how they've soldered this together, but the ability of me doing this in front of all of you is so if you buy one of these, you can keep that in mind. And you won't have to worry about doing that minimal damage. It's very minimal. And, you know, if you don't know how to solder or you don't own a soldering iron, you'd probably be pretty upset. So good for me to experience it so that you don't have to and you can be better prepared. And then I don't have to read any manuals. It's the cost of not reading the manual. But again, the hardest part of that is waiting for the soldering iron to heat up. So we'll just take a quick look one more time in the chat, and then I think we'll wrap it up for tonight. My thanks to the folks at Beelink for sending the unit to me, and then off camera I'll solder it and put it all back together. It'll take 10 minutes. Let's see. Is there another fan? Yeah, well, so this fan up here, I'm sure just cooling down the NVMe. It's an SSD cooler, and in the fan on the bottom, our CPU is located under that fan, and that's going to be typically what you find in pretty much any laptop ever made in the last 10 years. Pretty standard. So any last questions, or we'll wrap it up for tonight? Elite Computer Solutions joins us and says hello. Hey, welcome in. Glad you could join us. You're just catching us right here at the end. But always good to see you, and glad you stopped in to say hello. The fan says do not block, but if I add an SSD, will it block the fan? No. not in any meaningful way. The SSD sits above the fan. It doesn't. If you noticed when I put the SSD in, it kind of hovers. It doesn't sit completely flush to the bottom, so air is going to be able to get under there. It's by design. You know, they thought of it. No worries. The fan you really got to be concerned about is on the other side anyway. You could probably disable that fan. It probably wouldn't make much difference. I don't know, but I don't think it would make much difference. Either way, it's whisper quiet. I would never have guessed there was a second fan in there. Love Dog says, Carrie, keep showing us products like this and showing what's inside and allowing just general discussion on the uses of devices like that. I think opens up good discussion. Agreed, absolutely. Much rather have us talking about on topic items than, you know, some of the other nonsense that sometimes takes place and unfortunately distracts us from the content, the intended content. So I agree, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad they sent it to me. I didn't ask for it. They asked me, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy that they sent it to me. I like this. I might just put it into use for my own personal needs. I like it that much. Minis Forum says, hey Uncle Carrie, are you interested in reviewing other mini PCs? We have a mini PC with a Ryzen 9 6900X with USB 4, liquid metal, and so on. If you're interested in reviewing it, I am happy to ship it. Well, reach out to me at my email address. My email is my name, carrie@carrieholzman.com, and then we can discuss any details. Potentially, yeah, I would be interested in it. I'm sure if I bring this box up, it's going to be the wrong size. So bear with me for a minute. I'm going to have to, oh, you know what? It's actually not too bad. I'm clicking the wrong thing in OBS. This box is the one I want to click. Yes. And I want to resize it. It's just a little bit too big. There we go. That's my email address. Now, I will tell you, if you reach out to me for free technical support, you're asking me questions, I'm only going to answer those for free here during live videos. If it's a business inquiry, like a product review, or you have a system repair or a system build you're inquiring about, absolutely please reach out to me at that email address. Those business inquiries and requests I will always respond to. People that just want to have a question answered about support or problems, that's what the live videos are for, so that the whole community not only can learn from it, but also offer their suggestions beyond my own. And the only exception is if you're already a customer of mine, then of course you are always welcome to reach out for support questions. That comes along with being a customer for life. So I appreciate you guys very much, and appreciate you hanging out with me. Thanks to the folks at Beelink for sending me the computer, the link for which is in the video notes below this video. And then let's take my email address off of there, and I'm just catching up with the chats that have appeared while I've been talking. It doesn't look like anybody's got any further questions. So we'll leave it as is. Thank you guys again for hanging out. I will see you all very, very soon, every Friday at 1 o'clock Arizona time, which is now noon Pacific because daylight saving time just happened. We are now an hour ahead of Pacific time. So 1 p.m. in Phoenix is 12 p.m. in California, and it is 3 p.m. on the East Coast. And that's when I broadcast each and every Friday, a live show. Other times throughout the week, I don't have a set schedule. I just broadcast as time permits. When I get into, sooner or later, a Studio C, I will be able to have a more rigorous, firm set schedule for probably 3 days a week, as well as making more content over at Amazon as well. So you can find more content there, as well as over 1,400 videos. Since 2008, I've been making these YouTube videos. The last few years, they've all been live because I really enjoy the interactive nature of us hanging out together. So thanks for being a part of it, and I hope I will see you all very, very soon. Until next time, bye for now.